Conversations podcast. My name is Kate and I'm here with my co host Amanda. Today, we're going to dive into the energies that we're moving through collectively at the moment. We have 5 planets retrograding and a new moon happening in Scorpio on November 19th. We're going to chat about how these energies are showing up for each of us and what it might mean for you and how to work with that in your life and so much more. Who knows where this conversation is going to go? So, Amanda, great to see you. It's been a little while.
It has been a little while, which I think was something we were going to talk about too, maybe in this episode, this life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can even begin there if you want.
So let's start with astrology and then energies,
Okay.
and let's move on from there.
Right. No. Okay, great. So, starting, I think it was maybe sometime last week, I can't remember the exact date, we had the start of the Mercury retrograde, which many of us in the spiritual community all know what that time entails. And it is a time of reflection. It can be a time where they say the tech issues happen. And I definitely think I've had a couple of those. But really, this particular time, we've got 5 different planets going retrograde. Don't quote me on what they all are, but let me see if I can find something. So we got Mercury retrograding. Uranus is retrograding. There's just 2 of the 5, but all have their own theme and place that they're taking us to review. So again, I don't have the details of those and I forget those kinds of things and I get them confused, so I won't try to repeat them. But nonetheless, it's a time where we often feel like we might be going backwards, or old patterns come up that we've been working on, or all of a sudden, and definitely for me, it feels like the great flow I was on just came to a screaming halt, and then I'm just like back in the murkiness again. So for you, Amanda, with this idea of, planets being retrograde, bringing up sort of past or a time for deeper reflection and, a shift in energies, kind of a little bit more amplified because 5 planets, some of them quite major ones in their influence. How has that been showing up for you, if anything, if you reflected on your last week?
It's interesting because as you're just talking, I was thinking about how oftentimes when there's like these big astrological happenings going on,
Mm-hmm.
I'm often in like modes where I'm not even aware of what like my mind's not aware of what's happening because
Mm-hmm.
my life is like I'm in my life more, I feel like. Like I go
Mm-hmm.
through phases where I'm more like paying attention to the things like astrology and what's happening
Mm-hmm.
um and so it's almost like I don't know. That's what came up for me as you were talking. I'm like, I'm not really um tuned in mentally to what's going on. And then oftentimes
Mm.
in retrospect,
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh yeah, that's exactly like when I hear what's going on. And so yeah, I'm kind of in a place where things are, getting ready for a trip and trying to you know, balance all of the things and but also trying to do it in a different way than I've done it before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so maybe that's how um the retrograde is showing up for me is like, okay,
Mm.
let's like in this busy hustle grind energy, can I come at it from a different place where I'm not overextending myself, not feeling anxious or worried about everything working out,
Mm.
and
Mm.
just kind of trusting more that things are going to unfold well. Um,
Mm.
I don't know if that's at all related to the astrology, but that's
Mm.
kind of like what I'm in at the moment. And um, Yeah, I always I don't know, I never really kind of paid attention to, like, the Mercury retrograde,
Mm,
um, and I don't know, it seems like there's yeah, like, I never really sometimes tech issues happen and sometimes it
mhm.
aligns, right? And, like, where everything doesn't work as it should, and then there are other times where, um yeah, it doesn't correlate. So I don't know. Like,
Mm,
does that that is not really too good of an explanation of how it aligns. But yeah, what about you?
yeah. Yeah, before I go on to about me, but I want to say, something that you're highlighting there too is with anything that we transition through astrologically, it's all going to affect us differently.
Mhm.
Some people feel certain aspects or transitions or whatever uh, more than others, and some, would never know it's happening. And I think it also can come down to as well when the particular planets are even in certain signs that are powerful or potent signs for yourself as well. So I'll say that. And then I will say, though, that something that you just said there about approaching this time of year that's hustle from a different perspective and, like, trying to do things differently. I literally am in the same thing too. And it's like we're in the middle of a renovation here in Japan of a lodge, and we have a time crunch, just like last time. Um, Fortunately, this time round, it's a different experience because the first time we did this back in 2017, we didn't know contractors, we didn't have connections, we were trying to find people in the middle of it all, and there were a lot of problems. Every day was just like putting out spot fires. This time round, we've gone in with, people we've worked with, dedicated team. Everyone's happy to find more people, use their network. So, while there's still a lot of pieces to kind of manage and make sure that they get done on time, we're in a different place to do it. That said, there's still a time pressure. There's all kinds of other things going on, and it's like, how can I, like you, approach this differently? Like, I literally was yesterday and since Friday have been in the bathrooms, caulking the bathrooms and waterproofing the walls and the floors. And the last time I waterproofed bathrooms, it was literally the moment, and I can remember it, standing on a ladder painting this wall in a bathroom, like trying to have this conversation with my mind to not lose it. Like the stress and the anxiety and the worry was like building, building, building. And I'm mentally trying to, like, say affirmations to press this pressure down, and telling myself, I have the tools, I have the tools. You don't need to, this doesn't need to happen. But it was just so intense being on the site every single day with all these problems that it just bubbled over and it just took over. And so, it's nice to see that the difference. Of course, the application of going into the project itself is different, but last time it was just it was a breaking point for me, which was the lead up to my own spiritual awakening. Because the fear and my head just started to take over, and it just didn't stop. It just went on overdrive. And so, you know uh, just celebrating in this particular moment the difference in that. But my awakening in and of itself was such a catalyst too, for me to be able to approach this the same way, or in this new way, because I still sometimes have getting less and less like a trauma response every time I see it snow, because there was such an intense period of my life that more so since we've sold and I've had several winters where I didn't have to, get staff and run a hotel, I could relate to snow in a new way. But when I had the hotel, the first snow just brought back all these feelings of, like, fear and anxiety, and it was hard. So, it's a moment for me to reflect on and look back on the growth, and how that journey's unfolded and what it's taught me, and then how I can approach these new situations that are, just as intense and have so much going on, from a different way. And I'll say too, just something else that I noticed was, um, I have been going up to the site, uh, prior to me now being on site working through the last, month or so. And I go up there and Ricky's like talking to people and it's Japanese. They're talking Japanese and there's translators and like there's all these things happening and messages trying to be conveyed about where things are going to go and decisions being made. And I remember standing out there waiting for him to like finish his conversation and help me with something. And I could just feel this rising tension in my physical body of like, there's so much going on here. And I feel uncomfortable that they understand. And like, I could feel it in my own energy system. Like my heart just started to get really tight and scared. And I was up there for about an hour and I was like, I need you to stop talking to them for 5 minutes. Help me do this thing. I can't be up here. Like I need to get out of this environment, just the energy. It wasn't that there was even any problems. It's just so much going on. And I don't know, energetically, I realized how sensitive I felt in that moment. And I just had to leave. And then I reflected on the fact that the first time we did this renovation on our hotel, I was there every single day and it was a shit show and there were problems and it was like so much unknown. And then I thought to myself, there's no wonder like I mentally went up there and basically 2 years later had a breakdown because I was there all the time in that energy and, didn't know anything about energy and being how to discharge that. I only understood myself from a place of mind at that point, mindset. So it was a really interesting experience to see myself have an energetic response to that. So yeah, that was a really crazy experience actually.
That's it. There's a lot of interesting things that you just said. And as soon as you're starting to talk, immediately came to mind like, are you having moments where you viscerally remember what you went through, having flashbacks to the hotel experience? And also what popped into my mind is like the seasonality and also like the time period. I mean, it's when we first started, it'd been 7 years since you guys bought the hotel, right? So like these 7-year cycles, right? Like where we like go through this transformation, like kind of like larger pattern transformations. And it's like 7 years at the hotel, it's like you went like that was like a catalyst for a big transformation for you. And it's like, and what is it, like 9 years later now? And you guys have said yes to another project and, maybe seeing that, like, what is your role? Like, should your role be someone who's there or is that, is that Ricky? Is that his role? And you're more like the support person and like sometimes recognizing like what role do you need to play in order for you to be like steady and grounded in order to be the support person. Like you can do this, but you can't be the person that's like in that energy of like negotiation and like just the kind of the chaos that maybe he enjoys to some degree, like to some degree, right? It seems like he likes that. What he manages it differently, like his energy system is wired differently to be able to deal with that, whereas like you need to kind of remove yourself and also a little bit of compassion and grace for the old you that seeing like no wonder I like had that like whatever that moment of eruption or breakdown or whatever it was that required you to like retreat and leave the situation, which then obviously was all part of your journey and needed to happen anyways. But so, and really like our awakenings, right? Like a lot of times there are results of like breaking points where we can't continue living the way that we have been. And it gets to the point where we have to like reevaluate and question, do I really want to continue on this way? Or is it time that I have to like make some real real changes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was exactly it. And, to your point, yes, the big realization that's come out of that too, as you said, is like, what is my role? And interestingly enough, studying Gene Key's human design since then is realizing that my role, my energy, and the way that I am designed isn't to be in the thick of things. It is a support role. And, that makes my whole body feel so much better, and knowing that. And so, okay, how can I structure this to be the support person who comes in and like might give some direction, but isn't in the middle of it and isn't in the thick of it. And then the challenge was after that first time when we did the build, we then ran it all, and like literally every job at the first time, like the first year, especially because we'd never done it before, and we lost half our staff in the first season and first few months, and then it wasn't enough people, and yeah, like that is not how I'm even wired to run my energy. And I'm a projector. Projectors can't work 7 days a week for 4 months straight. It's just not how I'm wired. And yes, to your point, Ricky, as a manifesting generator, and whatever, parts of his design, he can manage this intensity, and there is a passion for what he does. So, he can do it. But I see him during the day, like he'll have a stressful moment and has to deal with something, and he does, and he comes through the other side, and then he's off doing some other part of the job and he's whistling, and it's like, wow, how on earth can you manage to like do that? Because I'm shot. Once I'm shot, I'm shot.
Yeah.
I'm just like need to take a salt bath or something, like, yeah, it's incredible to watch also him in his strengths, and then know how that I have to honor my own to be the best support I can be. And something I've learned as a projector too is that as soon as I'm pushing into the I should energy, or the space of like I've got to keep going, I feel my capacity and the quality of my capacity just drop, and I'm doing, but it's not quality work. Whereas if I was to step back and like, okay, I need to have 2 solid days off, I can come back and give you my 100%. So it's, challenging as a projector to literally have to work that way, because you just get so spent so quick sometimes. And you feel like you're letting people down. And yeah, but
Right.
yeah.
Isn't that's like such a big part of awakening too, is recognizing that like the old lie that we're supposed to be one certain way, that
And all the
all of
same
a
way.
all the same way,
Mhm.
and really kind of the schooling system really teaches us to ignore those natural inclinations and those natural tendencies. um, it kind of pathologizes these the ways our energy systems run, right?
Yeah.
And it teaches us to like ignore really basic cues that our body is
Yeah.
telling us. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so isn't it like, we've talked about a lot as far as how we are relearning, like how, like that's part of the awakening journey, as well as recognizing how we've been molded by societies that tell us how we're supposed to run our energy. And
Mm.
I mean, it's been such for myself, exciting and liberating experience to find in various charts and readings or profiles, explanations for what has come naturally for me, or what I felt drawn to do, or and how it's like reflected back in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such like a, it's like, do we need to continue to live 40 something years of our lives to then come to realize like I've been I've been operating this whole time on someone else's way of doing things and ignoring and neglecting myself? Like I
Yeah.
feel I don't know, I personally feel like, as we've talked about, is like, are these kids that are the next generation, it's really interesting. Like I hear like, oh, these kids, they can't do jobs. They can't like from the older generation, but at the same time, it's
Mm,
like the older generations have neglected themselves to do these jobs, and these younger kids that um, are not willing to sacrifice in the way that the older generations have are seen
mm,
as, lazy or
mm,
unwilling to work. And it's like there's this like
mm,
mismatch between
mm.
the old and the new. And um yeah, I imagine it's like how does the work need to change too? I mean, it is changing, right? With like AI is changing things. Like
Yeah.
the jobs that have existed are gonna exist in the same way. And so I don't know. It's um the world is like in this changing phase, right? Of where the we're relearning to honor ourselves, right? And then so
Mm.
maybe the children of our generation, at least to some degree, are getting a little more space to honor what is their natural energy
Yeah.
patterns. And how many generations, like, is this going to change really rapidly, like because we're in this like very rapid time of
Mm.
transformation, or
Mhm.
is it is it going to take multiple generations in terms of probably not, right? Like because things are
Yeah.
changing so quickly. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's like, as you just said, like AI is changing the way that we work. And so it is in some ways can take away some of the like can take away some of the work. And in some ways, this is one of the benefits, right? That it could
Mm-hmm.
things can be automated. Um, I don't know what is a good example of that is right now, but in some ways, it has this way that it could take some of the workload for us, so that we could manage our energy better, and then be more in the creative aspect. And you've
Mm-hmm.
spoken to this before of like, where can AI be a tool used to help streamline things, take some of that challenging grind work away for us so that we can be in our zones of genius more often. Um, so in some ways, yeah, like it feels like there's an opportunity for us to use it consciously and wisely in ways that can not take away our job, but in some places, seeing where it could help to support us to do the best work we can do, which is kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I think I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but there's such rapid change happening. And we're going to probably talk about this in our next episode in a couple of weeks of what 2026 we can expect from this year, because this year was very much about disruption. And I believe from what I've read about 2026, it's really going to be some really stark changes starting to take place. And maybe that's what we're going to start to see. And I think it might even be a response to how do we cope with all the change. Burnout is a real thing. I think we've seen already recently in the recent years, maybe since COVID, the pull away from the hustle culture, right? It's such a kind of concept now that was not healthy for us, this hustle culture, this grind, and coming back to a way of you know being more like sensing more and going with our own natural rhythms and becoming aware of what they even are. Like, I think that's the first step to to creating changes, for us to tune into what does work for me. Maybe it's looking at our designs, but also feeling into, where are my boundaries? Where are my edges? How do I know when I'm at my best and maybe pushing beyond? And what is that capacity? Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were talking, what popped into my mind is that, like, what if we can use AI to understand, like, as you and I have used AI for understanding our designs, our gene keys, our astrology, right? And it's helped us work through things that, we're going through in the moment, and like, can we apply this to the situation? Like, what does it mean, and all of that. And what if we could, because I think, like, I imagine there are, the younger generation requires them being seen not just as expendable workers, right? In order to get
Yeah.
someone to work for you, they need to feel like you're invested in them, you care about them, like they're people. And so, like, I imagine the good, we'll say, bosses, employers are going to be the ones that can understand themselves, but also like the soft skills, right? The emotional intelligence that,
Mm.
but I think there was an Instagram reel that you shared with me, right? And it was like, what are the four main
Mm.
areas? And it was like
Yes.
tech or something, or biotech. And I think on there was like emotional intelligence was like one of the
Yes.
four main ways to prepare for this change that we're going through.
Yeah.
And so it's like, in order to, like, you need to invest in like knowing yourself, but then you also need to invest in like finding, like, helping the people that you want to work for you to also find themselves, right? To understand what their
Mm.
gifts are, and to
Mm.
grow and
Mm.
be more of who they're meant to be, like through their work. Like, cuz I feel like
Mm.
work needs to be more meaningful than it has been.
Mm.
Like, it's not just
Mhm.
about a paycheck anymore. Like,
Mm.
that's not, I don't think, as motivating to the younger generation is like doing something that they find value in.
Mm.
And I think that if we are, I don't know even how we got this conversation, but it's like really like through us finding our gifts, like that's part of
Yeah.
like the new economy, right? Is like through
Mm.
understanding who we are is the way we differentiate ourselves. It's the way that we kind of become, well, it's how we feel like most alive, right? Is when we're
Yeah.
like living in alignment with our own design. And then
Yeah.
it's like we become irreplaceable in the sense that like there's only one of us with the gifts that we have. And if
Yeah.
we can find the places where we're meant to be, the people that we're meant to work with, like the where we can add value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no, the
Yeah.
competition kind of goes away as a result of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I had, what did I want to share about? I think I shared about it in our mastermind group about the photographer situation.
Mhm.
Um, I actually met another photographer just like the other night. And it's funny because I've seen this photographer's work, like it's just really good work. And there was a part of me that was like always a little bit like felt inferior. And there was this fundraiser event someone that I know was putting on, and I didn't have anything planned. I'm like, I'm just gonna reach out and ask if she would like some photography. And there was just something that nudged me to do that. And so I reached out, she said yes. And I'm like, okay. And I was telling John before I was going, I'm like, I just feel like I'm supposed to like be there. I'm supposed to network, I'm supposed to meet somebody. Um, and I went there. It was this like really lovely house, and this person who I crossed paths with a few years ago. But like, anyways, it was like lovely in like many different ways. Um and then I met this photographer who um yeah, and she was just like really like she um much more experienced. She works like in the Mexico City, and like has like a lot more experience in terms of like what do they pay there. And but anyway,
Mm.
she was just so willing to like share. and
Mm.
and she's like, I want to contact you like if I need someone. And it was just like such a moment of like, oh, like there's opportunity and collaboration, like
Mhm.
recognizing that
Mhm.
like other people doing similar things aren't competition. Like they are if we see them as that, but
Yeah.
we can choose to um, operate differently. Like, and that's what I'm seeing. Like, I've had two experiences where I'm like really seeing where like any sort of competition that I feel is like my own inferiority to like to work through and
Mhm.
recognize and grow through. And
Mhm.
also, it's like there's power um, to allying and like and working with people. And I think
Yeah.
that's more of that, you know, the more that's more the energy, right, that we're moving into with this whole like awakening process, is that moving away from that old model of like scarcity and thinking that like
There's
someone
not
else
enough.
is taking like detracting
Mm.
from like what you are able to do or accomplish or be or anything like
Mm.
that. And so
Mm.
yeah, you know, and I think back and I'm like, that's like kind of an imprint that I have from in my family. Like one side of my family is very competitive, right? Like, and
Mhm.
so like I learned that, and I have that energy. And there's nothing wrong with competition. Competition can be fun, right?
Mhm.
And at the
Mhm.
same time, it's like it also can be masking feelings of like not enough,ness, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, just this is an opportunity to like rewire that and yeah, operate in a different way. So
Yeah. No, I love that. And a couple of things that you said there, this new economy of letting us or being a space where we can bring our greatest strengths to the work we do, where we can be working to honor our values as we do work. Like, I feel like that's such an exciting thing because when we can really be in the highest integrity, like honoring the values we have, getting to live them and express them, that's part of what we came here to do, right? Like, we don't have to necessarily do that all in our work arena. It can be in our relationships and it should be everywhere in every part of our life. But I think I think exactly the old way of doing things has been, you pick a interest, you go and study it perhaps, and then like pursue it for the next 25, 30, 40 years. But yeah, what if we were given the opportunity to explore who we are truly, and what really makes us us, to then cultivate some kind of creative pursuit or whatever from that kind of sense of alignment at the start of our lives, rather than doing, as you say, like the 40 years of work going, I don't know if this is really fulfilling me. Let me just like quit my job or try and find a side hustle so I can like have some sense of fulfillment. Yeah, imagine that as an opportunity and a different way to do things. The other thing I wanted to say too is, was something that struck me when I first moved here, and we did open our hotel back in 2017. How closed off people were to helping us, and I'm not talking about the Japanese people, I'm talking about the foreign people. So people who'd been here running businesses themselves. Uh, I am completely fresh. How do I even begin to look for staff? And I can remember
mm,
asking another couple who'd been here a few years, and they were like super guarded and closed off of like, oh, you just do this. And I'm like, well, where exactly? And then gave me a couple of like slight leads, but they were just didn't want to share because there was this fear of like, well, if I don't find the right people first, then you'll take them. And it's like, it was so strange to me because it's like, well, I don't know. If I knew something that could be beneficial to help you, I'd want you to know that. Um, and it has been interesting how I have come to see other people have their eyes on what we are doing, and they would come and ask me about how we got the ratings we got. I'm like, why are you looking at my ratings? And like, I don't even know what you're doing in your business. Like, why do you know what I'm doing in mine? But there's that sense of competition. And so, you know, what I've, what we came to this part of the world for was kind of by chance, was never planned, but it was more from a strategic position of, well, we can buy some investment properties and rent them out for the next however many years and make X amount of extra income. Or we could like just go all in on this hotel, put a whole bunch of money into it, run it for 5 years, and then try and sell it and like, get a greater gain from that than chipping away at rental properties. So when we did that, we came here, we're like, okay, well, our vision wasn't how do we make money? It's like, well, how do we make this something we'd really love to stay at ourselves? what kind of experience would we want? And how can we make this so awesome for people? And I feel like part of the success that we had wasn't because we were like, I want to build this thing so it'll make me X amount of money. It was like, we want to build this thing that's kind of an extension of our sense of hospitality, our love of like, entertaining somebody or having people over for dinner and, making it feel like a cozy place to be, but, with some little touches that we can make it feel like a really beautiful experience. It's someone's holiday. They're paid money to fly here. They're going to pay money to stay here. Like, I got to respect that. And how can I offer them something that's memorable? And so I think when we go into the work that we do, there's what's the intention behind it? Because when we're going at it as, I want to make money, like, I don't know, you're chasing the money. Not that we, amassed a massive amount of money from that particular way of pursuing things, but it was so much more rewarding and fulfilling, even when times were challenging, even through COVID. We still got to enjoy this thing we created when it made money and when it didn't make money. And eventually we sold it and we did make money. But um, it's a different way to approach business. And instead of this competition of like, how can I outdo the next guy or, um, just create something for the joy of it, create something for the love of it, because that's really the rewarding part. And then it makes me think about, we've talked about before as well, Gene Keys and what is our own definition within our Gene Key profile of what success is. And I guess for some people it is financial. For me, it really just felt like a sense of achievement, and I think it's success is maybe it's human design, one of the two that tells you what it is. But yeah,
In case,
yeah,
like your pearl is like
Nepal.
like how you experience success. What's your
Yeah.
pearl?
My pearl is I've got it here. Hang on one second. My pearl is commitment is the gift. Devotion is the city.
Yeah.
Half-heartedness is the shadow.
So it was success.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that is how success comes, right? Like so
Yeah, through the commitment.
right. And also it's like you were an example to others of a different way of doing things. And I imagine now people that you don't experience that same closed offness where you are. Maybe you do, but at the same time, it's like you attract what you need, right? Like you know how to get what you need. And there are people that will like they experience the openness and like abundance that you created with. And so you now have a reputation of being someone who is not just like people can sense like, oh, they're just after the money or, and some people might like have that lens that they're operating from. And maybe they might see that because they don't really know. And that's just their lens. But like people who truly see you see that, there's more behind it. And so you get, it's also, it's like if you're operating from, we do need to be compensated, right? Financially, but at the same time, like if that's the only reason we're doing what we do, we're not going to create the connections that we require to accomplish what we want to accomplish, right? Like, or we're going to burn bridges. We're going to, we're not going to operate with integrity, and that's going to impact what we can build on a long-term basis. And so, it's interesting. Yeah, my pearl is 44.2, which is all about it's synarchy. It's like the network. It's the fractal, and so it's like. Yes, I need to connect with others in order to be successful, which is so not how I wanted to do things from the beginning. Like, I'm like, I just want to do things by myself and not have to like rely upon other people. But that's really been the the lesson of living where we live now and seeing the value of like creation, how creation happens through networks. And so yeah, that's been a big realization for myself.
Yeah. How's it been to get to experience that and live that as a reality? Like, how does that feel?
It feels magical, really. It feels like, um, I mean, I'll say that when I graduated my undergrad, I came to Mexico and I traveled around Mexico for a month, and I remember a big realization that I had upon leaving was how the contrast between Mexico and the United States in terms of in the United States, like it's like independence and you gotta work hard because no one's gonna support you. You need to, everyone's just kind of looking out for themselves. And it's like, well, how does people that, you know, generally on average make considerably less money than, like, how do they live, like, and it's through relationships. And the term that like came to me was social capital. It's like you have capital through your connections, through your family, like through knowing someone where you can, will help each other, right? Like, in the United States, it's like you need to pay for everything. You need to pay for your mechanic. You need to pay for, every single service that you need done, anything that's done in your house, like, generally speaking, like you have to pay, you have to work for money in order to pay for those things. You're also taxed on those things, like you also pay a part of that income that you make to the government. And it's like, every transaction requires money, right? Whereas those things happen through relationships a lot of times, right? People live with their families, like in larger family units, right? So it's like
in Mexico.
Yeah, like the family stays, like there's wealth within the family, like you're supported by your family. And people like own their houses outright. A lot of times, like the family owns the house, so it's like, you don't have to. People work hard here, but it's also, do you work to live or live to work? It's like in the United States, it's like you live to work, whereas here I feel like you work to live, right? And so, just the structure is different. And so anyways, like your question was like, so I feel like coming here was like, that was a big part of my growth, was like opening to what can be created, and how much easier it is to have a creation kind of be accepted or received through having connections, which was something that I think I didn't value before, right? Like, so anyways.
Yeah, but you've been doing that too with the photography just recently, right? Like really being in collaboration and reaching out to people, and how that's been, rippling out as well.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. Like, so I started charging for photography for the first time just over 2 years ago. And like, it was like, came to me in it was either a meditation or a sound healing. I was like, I'm gonna like put this out there. And then like I acted on it. I think this was like very soon after I reached out to you for the podcast. But it was like, it came in very clearly. I created like, okay, I'm gonna get 5 free photo shoots to like create a portfolio. And then it was like all these doors started opening as a result. Like all these synchronicities happened and all these doors opened as a result of doing this. And so it was like, okay, there's a confirmation. And so like I went hard for a bit, And then I think that I came up against some of my stuff and I just kind of like, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to put as much. I just kind of like, in a way, like let it fizzle, let it, like I just like people still contacted me for photography, but I didn't continue working at it as a business. And so it just didn't grow.
Mm.
Um, and then I don't know, in the past few months, I'm like, I feel called to like really pursue this. You know, it was actually after, you know, I was photographing and doing musical theater videography for my kids stuff. And I had the realization, I'm like, I'm actually good at this. Like, why don't I start believing that I'm good at this and just like really like put my money where like, you know, like
Yeah.
just own that and like not doubt myself that I can be paid for this.
Yeah.
And so it's put me on this another push to grow it. And I'm seeing, you know, what you talked about, like how, you know, we were re-seeing patterns, right? Like I'm
Mm.
seeing where like I maybe put something out there in the past and maybe people didn't receive it right away. And then I took that as feedback. I was like, oh, this is not that good. And so, and then I
Yeah.
stopped, right? And this time I'm like building this, I've built this momentum where I'm just going to do the thing. And whether people respond or not respond, I'm going to keep going. And that's what
Mhm.
I've been doing. Like, if I don't have something, if I don't have photos set it, I'm going to find an opportunity to take photos so then I can have an opportunity to put stuff out there so more people can see my photography so then they can contact me. And rather
Mhm.
than like have the fact that if I don't have a paid customer at the moment, like be a reflection. It's like, no, if I don't have a paying customer, it's not my opportunity to like make the marketing so
Mm.
people can
Mhm.
to build my portfolio, to like work on my craft. And so it's
Mhm.
just like I feel like there's a different energy. Like it was a good start that I did. Like, but
Yeah.
I kind of um yeah, I just let my own doubt overpower and stop me. And now I feel like nope, I'm just gonna keep going. And
Mhm.
so anyways, it's kind of it's fun. And I feel like my
Yeah.
photography is improving as a result of it.
Yeah. I've seen some of your photos. They look incredible. And it's a testament
Thanks.
to like just, you know, listening to the passion, listening to the thing and, you know, recognizing that we have patterns and that it's really just ourselves getting in our own ways, right? It's not anything else. It's you know, it's all us. It's like what is the story? What is the belief that's like, you know, the I imagine it like the white sheet that goes over the chair in the room or the statue or the creation, you know what I mean? Like it's
Mm.
you know, the doubt just puts the cover on it and then you're like, "Oh, you know, that's just tucked away over there." You know, and all we need to do is take that sheet off and like be brave enough to take the sheet off and trust that we can take the sheet off and let it be what it is and you know, tend to it and come back to it and maybe water it a little or maybe clean it or paint it or whatever and start to put it out in the world and let it be received how it's received. And yeah, I think it's a magical process, but it's, yeah, we have to allow ourselves to, you know, be okay with being beginners. I think,
Mm.
you know, like I'm not good with that. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about snowboarding and I absolutely love it now, and I am good at it. I can say that. But when I first started learning it, I was like, "Oh, this is shit. This is I don't want to go snowboarding." And my husband wanted to go like every weekend or every other weekend, and you know, we lived in Hungary, and so we drive to Austria, and it's about 5 hours to a beginner resort. And he called me on a Friday at lunchtime. He's like, "Pack the car. I'm going to leave work early, and we're going to go book something." And I'd book something. We'd leave at like 5, get there at 10, snowboard on the Saturday, come back on the Sunday. And for the first season, like the first full year, I was so bad at it. I was always falling over and I hurt myself. And, he's waiting for me. I'm getting frustrated. He's getting frustrated with me. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm only going because he's going and I can't whinge and say I'm not coming. And then it took, the end of that first season, we had some friends from Czechoslovakia who said, meet us in Austria. So we did. And it was mostly guys. And so boys drink when they catch up with each other and they got very drunk. And I'd had a couple of drinks, but nowhere near as many as them. So the next day they were very hungover. I was just a touch of a headache, but it was enough for me to get up to the top of the mountain and just be not quite my full senses to the point where I wasn't thinking. I didn't have to, do you know what I mean? I was like,
Brain
how am I
shuts
going to
off.
turn? Right? And so the
Yeah.
next thing I point my board down the mountain and then I'm turning, I'm like, oh my God, I can snowboard. And it was because I wasn't overthinking. How
Yep.
do I do this? This is going to happen. Don't do this, blah, blah, blah.
Our
Just,
fear.
right? All of it. Just didn't have enough mental capacity for that to like kick in. It's like, oh my God, I can do this. And so it was a really nice thing to
Like,
end
I
that
just need
first
to
season.
like get hung like drink the night before.
Well, yeah, I
I'm just kidding.
didn't want that to be my like
No.
technique. Yeah, but it was a
No, but it was
great
just like that. It was just like this shift that you needed to recognize, like, oh,
yeah,
maybe
an
I can do
experience.
this. Yeah.
Exactly. And really to see how much the mind gets in the way of, you know, the thing that we can do. Like, honestly, it was an experience of like just letting my body, like feeling your body, being in your body, because it's a body-based sport. It's not a mental sport, right? Yes, you
Yeah.
need to understand the technique mentally to, send the signals down your body. And I don't know, something about for me when I watch someone do something on a video as an instruction, I can see it and I've got absolutely no idea what it is that they're doing. I don't know. There's not like a way that it computes and goes down into the limbs and I'm like, I got it all
Well, it's
backwards in
not
my
like
head. I
an
don't know.
obvious motion of like swing the tennis racket this way. It's
No,
like it's
so
like
subtle.
it's a feeling that you have to like
Mhm.
you have to
Yeah.
like
And it's inside the boots, right? It's the toes and the heels, and you can't see
yeah,
that when someone demonstrates.
exactly. It's like
Yeah,
but
and
yeah.
it is a feeling. Yeah. But yeah, that first year of being a learner, like it sucks when you have to begin.
Yeah, I'll just tell my snowboarding story because it's very similar. But it actually, I mean, I was a beginner for a long time, but I was 16 and my dad took a friend and me up to, we had a house in Mammoth, California, and we got a 2-day pass and we did a half lesson the first day. And my body hurt so bad. Oh my gosh. And I fell so many times. And I was just like, I hate this. I'm never doing this again. And my friend Tiffany, she was like, can you please go? I really want to go. And I decided to go. And it was a completely different experience than the first day. And had I not gone that second day, I probably would have never snowboarded again.
Yeah.
And sadly, I haven't snowboarded in a long time, but I want to come to Japan and snowboard with you
Yes.
one day. And yeah, I loved it so much. Like I would, similar thing where like my first year of junior college, I don't know, I think I would skip school on Friday and I'd drive up to Mammoth and I would snowboard
That's
Saturday
awesome.
and Sunday and then drive back late Sunday. And yeah, I just have so many good memories of snowboarding that if I hadn't continued on, like
Yes.
I would have missed out
Yes.
so much.
Yes. And like perfect example, right? Like we have to push past that point of discomfort. There's so much pushback mentally of like, oh, you're no good at this, or this isn't going to work, right? Like, we just got to recognize that that's going to be part of the journey of us doing anything, like stepping out to follow our purpose, creating something, doing this passion project that we have. It's that's going to be there, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why that's there, but like, you know, we want to do it, we've got to do it. Like, that's part of the process. And you get past that, like you get that sheet off, you get into the actual joy of the thing, and then it's like from there with some ups and downs because you learn on the way. But yeah, it's such a good example. You never know
Yeah.
what's waiting for you beyond that choice, right? Beyond
That
that.
discomfort, just the this uncomfortable process. And yeah, I feel like um I think with our creations, right? Like we're putting ourselves like out there. Like there's
Yeah.
so much attached to it. And so it's like, um, if we're judging ourselves, like it's hard for us to get beyond those earlier phases, right? Because
Yeah.
if we're having to like when business, like we're having to put ourselves out there, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, recognizing that we're beginning, and so there's people that are better than us, and so how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we like speak with confidence about what we do?
Mm.
How are we okay with like where we're at? Right, like there's such
Mm.
um and I think the more that like we be ourselves through the process, like people are choosing us, right?
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah.
are choosing, maybe they want to choose someone that's just a little bit further along than they are versus like someone
Yeah.
who's like doesn't remember what it's like to be in their shoes, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like we all have the people that we're meant to help or work
Yeah.
with, or um and so yeah, I think there's a part of just like um seeing where we have a tendency to judge, where we're not perfect.
Mhm.
We're never gonna be perfect, right? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
um and yeah, I think that I just picked up a point and shoot camera.
Mhm.
Or I just ordered one, and I watched this video of this photographer. I really like her style. She kind of has like a retro way of taking photos, and
Mhm.
or like a retro look to her photos. And I watched a video of hers, and she's like, you know what? I'm just, instead of using my phone, I'm picking up like an old like digital point and shoot camera and using that as my what I instead of using my phone, like what I just like
Mm.
document life with, rather than um and she's like, I like the imperfectness of it. I like
Mm.
it has its own look. I like that I'm not going on my phone to like take a
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love that. Cause like, I got a digital camera like that back in the early 2000s, and I love taking
Mhm.
photos with it. And I don't like taking photos with a phone at all. Like I
Yeah.
really don't. But I
Yeah.
also can't carry around like my big cameras and just like easily snap a photo of like my kids
Yeah.
like doing really candid things. And so,
Yeah.
anyways, my point being is like I think we want, like in this age of like AI, like can we embrace like the imperfectness? Like I think
Mm.
that's like what we of like who we are, and just like the uniqueness that
Mhm.
we are not like
Mm.
we don't reach any ideal of what we perceive
Mhm.
we're supposed to be, of like what is the best. And um it feels like that's where we're like moving. We might already be there, where it's like authenticity, imperfectness is really what's valuable right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, in
Yeah.
all realms.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we're going from, and I've heard this said before, like, the age of the influencer to really like more authentic connection or more authentic people, realness, because for so long we've been watching these curated, really, experiences of life, and to the point where I've even like, gone traveling after having seen, Instagram bits and pieces of these places, got there and gone, that was a photo, and I'd bought into the idea it was just some magical place, and I'm like, there it is, and the rest of it's shit. And not to be judgmental, but do you know what I mean? Like there's been, and I see it even here, especially I started following a lot of accounts of Japan, and Japan's amazing and beautiful, but it's also like some parts of it isn't. And there's this portrayal through this, social media that it's this like one great magical painting. And, like, I don't know, it's not real. There's so much fakeness that we're seeing. And then if we're watching too much of it, we're feeling like our life is less because of what we see. And what we're being shown isn't the full picture, isn't real. And yeah, real life is messy. Real life isn't always pretty. Real life can be hard. Being your authentic self, like, is different and weird, and that's awesome. Yeah, I really am stoked for this direction of authenticity and realness. And I don't know, it does. I've always been someone who, as a reader, was always reading autobiographies and nonfiction. I want the realness. I want to know what people go through. I want to know their experiences. And yeah, I don't know. I love authenticity. I'm here
Yeah, I
for
mean,
it.
if you like, I did this. This woman I know, she has a social media marketing agency,
Mm,
and she was teaching us how to make money on TikTok.
mm,
I mentioned this to you, but
mm,
basically, there's this concept of user generated content, right? So
mm,
um, companies are now seeking out people who don't even have like big followings, but are willing to like make content about their products because that is more effective than the staged marketing
mm,
campaigns that they pay tons of money for.
mm.
Um, like people see an ad and they just like
Yeah.
swipe whatever direction they're supposed to swipe. They just
Yeah.
like move on. Like this is an ad. I don't want to be
Yeah.
sold to. And so
Yeah.
even companies are seeing, they're trying to capitalize off of
Yeah.
authenticity, but like
Yeah.
that's what people want. And so
Yeah.
it's happening. Like I even like the wedding photography industry, it's like people, yes, they want like the beautiful shots, but they also want more like retro film looks or like the old school
Mm,
flash look, like the old,
mm.
like less AI looking images
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they want something that um I think
Feels
that
real.
that's real, right? And I think like
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out what
Yeah.
my style is. Like I feel like I want my photography to capture like moments in time that feel real, right? Like that
Mm.
feel like captures like energy of like maybe relationships or of a person,
Yeah. Yeah.
but also like like I've kind of felt I live in a place where Instagram has really drawn people here.
Yeah.
And there's like beauty to that too, but there's you know, it's not all like picturesque and beautiful, and it's like
Yeah.
like can I tell that story as well? But also is
Yeah.
there beauty in like the things that aren't picturesque, right? Like how
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
tell that story too of
Yeah.
the because it's all like part of the experience and
Mhm.
part of the reality, right? And so
Yeah.
anyway, so that's just kind of like what I'm trying to like find my way and like how do I tell that story too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I, will say that last couple of trips I've done to Tokyo, I've seen the massive people getting their version of the Instagram shot of some statue because there's this Tokyo station in Shibuya station in Tokyo, and there's this story of, uh, I think the dog breed is called Inu, don't quote me on that, can never remember it, but it's like the sort of very Japanese looking dog that his owner went to work, and I think he died when he went to work or something, and he didn't come home, and the dog sat at the
Mm.
station waiting, waiting, waiting for his owner to come back. And so there's a story of the dog, and there's like a statue of the dog now, at the station. And so you come out of the station and it's Tokyo, so there's still a lot of people, but then there's this massive people standing right on the side, and they're all like lining up to get this photo with the statue of the dog, their Instagram shot for it. And it's a shame somehow, like it's just we're going around chasing like the Instagram photo. I can
Let me
remember it
repeat it. It's like there's no
yeah,
creativity to that at all.
no, it's just cut and paste. And I remember when I went to Bali, when I went there for, well, what turned out to be my spiritual awakening, wanting to sightsee, and I met a girl there who had a moped, and she took me around to different waterfalls. And we went to one where it's the Instagram shot, and there's all these people in their bikinis, like laying on the stones, like trying to get
So
their shots. And we got down the stairs and we're like, let's go, let's find somewhere else. Like, I don't want to be here for this. Like, it was just this barrage of
it
the same
ruins
photo. Yes,
it
it
ruins
does. Like,
places.
just be there and experience the beauty. And, I mean, it's being judgmental, I know, but like, yeah, it just felt sad to me that you've come all this way to recreate something that's been created. Like, just enjoy it. you know?
It's not. Yeah, that's like photography is that there's like, there's a double-edged sword. There's two sides to everything, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
um, the the process of getting an image versus like,
Yeah.
are you doing it for the process, the experience, or is it to like
Yeah.
get the response on the social media? And
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Amanda, we're coming up to an hour. I've got bathrooms I need to waterproof. Did I mention that I'm waterproofing bathrooms? I did. I think I did.
You did.
Yeah. So it's been a great conversation. I want to say that anyone that's listened to this episode, there's lots of different talking points that we've brought up here. And in the comments, we'd really love to hear from you. Some of them that we discussed that come to my mind is like, do you know what your pearl is, where you find success? Drop that in the comments. Tell us what the gift expression is. Have you experienced that in your life? We also talked about, the idea of authenticity. How is that, a theme in your life? What are your feelings around that? What else do you think? There's other comment points that we've discussed, Amanda.
Well, I think you're really good at taking notes of what we talk about. I'm terrible at that. Actually, I don't think we touched upon like the new moon in Scorpio. But I imagine that's like all about like looking at what's hidden, what's in the dark, like
I'll give you the real short version so we can close with that. But tomorrow's new moon in Scorpio, for everyone mostly watching in the US, is a wake-up call. This lunation reveals the emotional patterns we've been unable or unwilling to face. Paired with a Mercury cazimi, this moment spotlights the habits we need to break. And as Uranus, the planet of disruption, faces off with both the new moon and the cazimi, it pushes us to try new approaches to old problems. Interesting. Prepare to change any behaviors keeping you stuck.
Well, that's what I spoke about at the beginning, is that these energies are happening whether we're paying attention to them or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And both of us spoke about how we are approaching old ways of like patterns that we've experienced from a new energy. And so I'm interested then to hear anyone, is that coming up for you? Are you in a similar situation but coming at it from a new way? And if you're not and you're struggling, maybe that's what you're being asked to do, because it's going to be a lot harder for us, right? If we're trying to it's time for a wake-up call if we're not looking at doing things from a new way. So I love how susceptible and influenced we are by the energies. We don't even realize it. And it's like pushing us to live our lives in to grow, right? Like it's all for us to grow, whether like it's coming easy for us or we're struggling through it's all like an opportunity to evolve and rewrite the patterns of how we are existing in this world. So
and letting whatever comes up be just an opportunity to be like, oh, isn't that interesting? Like, how can you meet it with curiosity to, move through it and grow? So Amanda, great chatting to you.
Great chatting with you as well.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll join you in the next episode.